In 1861, the United States was torn apart. The Civil War had begun, a brutal, bloody conflict between the Northern Union and the Southern Confederacy. The war was fought over deep-rooted divisions, the expansion of slavery, states' rights, and the very nature of the American Union. It wasn't just a battle over land. It was a battle over the future of freedom, equality, and the soul of a young nation. By the summer of 1863, the war had dragged on for over 2 years, leaving a trail of devastation. Neither side had secured a decisive advantage, but everything changed in July of that year. In the small town of Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, the largest and deadliest battle of the entire war erupted. For 3 days, July 1st to July 3rd, Union and Confederate forces clashed in a brutal confrontation. Over 160,000 soldiers fought on the fields and hills around the town. When the smoke cleared, more than 50,000 men were dead, wounded, or missing. It was a turning point. The Union Army, led by General George Meade, had repelled the invasion by Confederate General Robert E. Lee. The South's hope of a decisive victory on Northern soil had been shattered. In the aftermath, Gettysburg became more than just a battlefield. It became a symbol of sacrifice and sorrow. Thousands of soldiers lay buried, many in unmarked graves. To honor the fallen, plans were made to establish a national cemetery. The dedication was scheduled for November 19, 1863. Speakers were invited to mark the occasion. The main address would be delivered by Edward Everett, one of the most respected orators of the time. But a shorter ceremonial speech was also requested. From the President of the United States. President Abraham Lincoln accepted the invitation. At the time, he was facing enormous pressure. The war was far from over, and public opinion was divided. Yet Lincoln understood the power of words, and on that November day, he used them to redefine the purpose of the war itself. Over 15,000 people gathered at the dedication ceremony. Edward Everett spoke for more than 2 hours. His oration was detailed, reflective, and grand in scale. Then Lincoln stepped forward. He held a small slip of paper. His speech lasted just about 2 minutes, only 10 sentences long, but those words would become immortal. 77 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. With these opening words, Lincoln reminded the audience of 1776, the birth of the United States. He didn't reference the Constitution, but the Declaration of Independence. He emphasized equality, placing it at the heart of the American experiment. He then acknowledged the war not simply as a military conflict, but as a test of whether such a nation based on liberty and equality could endure. He then acknowledged the war not simply as a military conflict, but as a test of whether such a nation based on liberty and equality could endure. But Lincoln didn't stop there. He looked ahead. That this nation, under God, shall have a new birth of freedom, and that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth. In this closing line, Lincoln reshaped the American identity. The war was no longer just about preserving the Union. It was about transforming it, about ensuring that democracy itself would survive. When Lincoln finished speaking, there was only light applause. Some newspapers mocked the speech, calling it inadequate. Others didn't even mention it. But Edward Everett, the renowned speaker who had delivered the main address, later wrote to Lincoln and said, "I should be glad if I could flatter myself that I came as near to the central idea of the occasion in 2 hours as you did in 2 minutes." Over time, the Gettysburg Address became one of the most quoted and studied speeches in history. It's inscribed on the walls of the Lincoln Memorial,